Ighedosa, though outnumbered, fought like a man who refused to crawl again. But as he bled and staggered, one truth became clear. His uncle would stop at nothing to bury him once more. And unless Ighedosa found strength beyond his scars, he risked losing not only his new life, but also the woman who believed in him. The night after the attack, Ighedosa sat on the edge of his bed, his body bruised, his face swollen. Efua knelt beside him, cleaning his wounds with trembling hands. Her eyes burned with anger, but her voice was gentle. He did this, didn't he? Your uncle sent those men. Ighedosa nods weakly, his jaw tight. He wants me broken again. He wants me to crawl back into the dust. And, part of me, wants to run. Efua freezes, shocked. Run. Ighedosa, after everything. Run. After standing up in front of the whole city. You can't go back to hiding. Ighedosa's voice cracks, full of pain. Efua, you don't understand. I've lived in the shadows for so long. To fight him, it means opening every wound. It means risking not only my life, but yours too. Silence filled the room. Ighedosa's heart battled with fear, but Efua's gaze held him steady. Efua grips his hand firmly, her voice sharp with fire. Ighedosa, listen to me. If you run now, he wins forever. If you stand, you don't just fight for yourself, you fight for every man who was ever cast aside. For every woman who was ever silenced. For every dream that was ever stolen. Ighedosa's eyes fill with tears. He whispers softly. But what if I fail? Efua leans closer, her forehead touching his. Then fail standing. Not crawling. Her words struck his soul like lightning. For the first time, Ighedosa saw the truth. His fight was bigger than himself. Bigger than his uncle. Bigger than the laughter of the city. It was a fight for dignity. For hope. For the right to rise again. Ighedosa takes a deep breath, his voice steady now. Then I will not run. If my uncle wants a war, he will find me standing. The night air outside carried the weight of change. Ighedosa's heart still trembled, but a fire now burned in his chest. A fire that even his uncle's power could not easily extinguish. But Ighedosa knew one thing. Before he could rise, he had to face the past that nearly destroyed him. The city's grand marketplace was alive with noise, traders calling out prices, drummers beating rhythms, children weaving through the crowd. But today, the market would witness more than trade. It would witness truth. Ighedosa walked beside Efua, his heart pounding. Every step felt like fire in his veins. His bruises had not fully healed, but his spirit was stronger than ever. Ighedosa whispers as they approach the trading square. Are you sure about this, Efua? To face him here, in front of everyone. Efua's eyes lock with his, firm and steady. Yes. Secrets lose power when dragged into the light. Today, he cannot hide. As if summoned by fate, a procession of men arrived at the square. At their center was Ighedosa's uncle, dressed in flowing robes, his rings gleaming, his face carved with arrogance. The crowd parted as he walked, bowing low. But Ighedosa did not bow. The uncle's eyes found him, and for the first time in years, nephew and uncle stood face to face. The uncle smirks coldly. Well, well. The beggar dares to show his face in daylight. And beside Efua Okosun no less. Tell me, nephew, do you plan to shame yourself further by claiming what isn't yours? Ighedosa clenches his fist, his voice steady but sharp. What you stole from me was never truly yours. You took my land, my name, my honor. But you will not take my future. The uncle laughs, his voice dripping with mockery. Future. Do you think these people will follow a man who once ate from the dirt? Look at them, without me, you are nothing. The crowd murmured, torn between loyalty and curiosity. Efua stepped forward, her voice rising like a bell. Nothing. This man is more than you will ever be. He fought hunger, humiliation, and pain that would have crushed most men. Yet here he stands, while you hide behind stolen gold. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The uncle's face twisted in rage. Watch your tongue, woman. I made him what he is. Ighedosa's voice boomed suddenly, silencing the square. Yes. You made me broken. You made me a beggar. But you also made me unbreakable. And today, uncle, the world will know the truth. The square fell silent. Every eye turned to Ighedosa. Every ear leaned in. For the first time in years, Ighedosa was not a shadow. He was a man standing in the light, ready to reclaim his name. But deep inside, both he and Efua knew the uncle would not surrender easily. And the battle for truth had only just begun. The marketplace got overwhelmed with tension. Ighedosa's words had shaken the ground, but words alone could not break chains of lies. The uncle smiled irritatively, his arms crossed, his voice dripping with poison. The boy speaks like a poet. But poetry cannot feed the hungry. Does anyone here truly believe this beggar over me, the man who has traded and prospered for decades? He raises his hand, and the crowd murmurs in agreement. Ighedosa feels the weight of doubt pressing down on him. You stole my inheritance. You drove me into the streets. Tell them, uncle, if you are not afraid of truth. The uncle laughs loudly, shaking his head. Proof, Ighedosa, where is your proof? Without it, you are just a dog barking at the moon. Ighedosa's chest tightened. For years he had carried only scars, no evidence. But Efua's eyes burned with determination. She stepped forward, raising her voice above the noise. Proof. Then let us give them proof. Bring her out. From behind the crowd, an old woman walked slowly, leaning on a stick. Her hair was silver, her steps unsteady, but her eyes shone with memory. The marketplace grew silent as she reached Efua's side. Ighedosa, shocked, Mama wrote. The old woman nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, Ighedosa, I was the servant in your father's house. I saw everything with my own eyes. The crowd leaned closer. The uncle's confident smile began to fade. Your father trusted his brother. But the night before he died, I heard whispers, plans to take the land, to sign papers in the dark. And when Ighedosa still was blamed, I knew it was all a lie. But I was too afraid to speak. She points a trembling finger at the uncle. That man, your uncle, framed you. He took everything, knowing the boy had no power to fight back. Gasps and shouts rise from the crowd. The uncle's face flushes with fury. Lies. This old woman is mad. She cannot prove a word she says. But before the uncle could finish, another voice rang out from the crowd. A middle-aged man stepped forward, holding a leather bag in his hand. Not lies. I was the notary who kept the original records of that land. And inside this bag are the papers your uncle tried to destroy. He lifts the bag high as the crowd erupts in cries of shock. Ighedosa's heart races, his knees nearly giving way. Ighedosa, whispering, after all these years, the truth lives. The uncle's hands trembled. His face, once proud, now cracked with fear. The marketplace was no longer his stage. It had become his courtroom. And the truth was finally dragging him into the light. The marketplace had become silent, heavy with truth. All eyes turned from the trembling uncle to the torn papers in the notary's hands. For the first time, the powerful man who once ruled with fear now looked small, cornered like a trapped animal. Uncle, 4 years I lived in the dust. 4 years, you told the world I was nothing. But today, everyone has seen the truth. You are the thief. You are the liar. You are the beggar of honor. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The uncle's face reddens with rage. No. I built this market. I gave you people bread. Without me, you would starve. The crowd murmurs, then voices rise angrily. Liar. You stole from your own blood. Shame. Shame on you. The uncle's power crumbled before him. Whispers turned into shouts. Shouts turned into chants. The same people who once bowed at his feet now hurled stones of words that cut deeper than knives. The uncle, shaking, turns desperately to Ighedosa. Nephew, forgive me. I only wanted to protect what was mine. Please. Spare me this disgrace. Ighedosa L steps closer, his voice calm but unyielding. You wanted me broken. But I will not be like you. I will not return evil for evil. He pauses, eyes burning with dignity. Your punishment is not my hand, it is the truth. And today, the truth has judged you. The uncle fell to his knees, not from humility, but from defeat. No gold, no guards, no power could shield him now. As the crowd turned away from him, their eyes found Ighedosa. The beggar who rose. The man who stood. The voice of the forgotten. Efua steps forward, her hand gently taking Ighedosa's. You did it, Ighedosa, you stood tall, and the world saw. Ighedosa looks around, tears shining in his eyes. No, we did it. Because one woman believed in a man everyone else had thrown away. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing the market in light. Ighedosa was no longer the man in rags, no longer the shadow of a beggar. He was a symbol. A living reminder that no matter how deep one falls, with courage and truth, one can rise again. And as he and Efua walked hand in hand through the cheering crowd, one chapter of his story closed. And another, brighter chapter began. The marketplace had witnessed betrayal. It had witnessed the truth. Now, it was about to witness change. In the days after the uncle's fall, Ighedosa held the leather bag close to his chest, the original land documents. Proof that the marketplace and its trade routes had always belonged to his family. Ighedosa stands before the council of elders, papers in his hands. His voice is steady, no longer trembling with fear. For years, my uncle rode this market with lies and greed. But today, what was stolen has been returned. This market belongs not just to me, but to the people who trade here every day. The elders exchange nods. One of them speaks with respect. Ighedosa, son of Okodowa, the truth has spoken. These documents are clear. From this day forward, you are the rightful custodian of the market. Word spread like wildfire. The man once mocked as a beggar was now the master of the market. But Ighedosa did not arrive with pride, he arrived with humility. Ighedosa walks through the marketplace. Traders bow their heads, but he raises his hand. No more bowing. I am not your master. I am your brother. From today, no man will sleep hungry while I lead. No trader will be cheated. This market will be a place of fairness and hope. Cheers erupt from the crowd. Efua, standing nearby, watches with tears of pride in her eyes. Softly, to herself, from rags, to respect. Ighedosa's first act was to cut the unfair taxes his uncle had placed on the traders. His second act was to create a fund to help widows and orphans sell their goods without fear. The marketplace was no longer just a place of business. It became a symbol of renewal. One young boy runs up to Ighedosa holding a small basket of fruit. Sir, my mother said we can eat again because of you. Thank you. Ighedosa kneels, smiling as he places a coin in the boy's hand. No, little one. Thank yourself. You worked hard, and now you will rise. Never forget, you are not small. The crowd cheered louder, and for the first time, Ighedosa felt something deeper than victory. He felt purpose. The beggar had not only reclaimed his inheritance. He had built a future where dignity would never be stolen again. And as the sun set on the marketplace, Ighedosa turned to Efua, his partner in strength. Together, they looked out at the sea of hopeful faces, knowing this was only the beginning. The marketplace had changed. Where once there was fear, now there was laughter. Where once there was greed, now there was hope. And at the center of it all was Ighedosa, the man who rose from rags to respect. But even the strongest man needs a partner to walk beside him. Efua stands with Ighedosa on the steps of the trading hall, the crowd gathered around them. Do you remember the day I found you? You had nothing, not even shoes. Ighedosa, laughing gently, and yet, you still saw me. Not for what I lacked, but for who I could become. She takes his hand, and the crowd cheers. Soon after, the marketplace prepared for a different kind of celebration. Not trade, not justice, but love. The wedding of Ighedosa and Efua brought together the rich and poor, the old and young. Even the widows and orphans whom Ighedosa had helped sat in the front rows, dressed in bright colors, their eyes shining with joy. The elder steps forward to bless them. Today we do not just join a man and a woman. Today we join two hearts that carried each other through fire. May their love be the foundation of the new life they build together. Ighedosa lifts Efua's hands, his voice breaking with emotion. Efua, you believed in me when no one else did. You gave me back my dignity, my strength, my will to fight. Today, I give you all of me, my name, my honor, my love. Tears shine in Efua's eyes. Not because you are powerful now, but because you were strong even in your weakness. Together, we will build not just a market, but a legacy. The crowd erupted in cheers when Ighedosa and Efua sealed their vows. Drums thundered, dancers filled the square, and the air was alive with celebration. Ighedosa looked around at the sea of smiling faces, then back at his wife. He was no longer the beggar who ate scraps in the shadows. He was a man of honor, a leader, a husband. A living proof that hope can rise from the dust. And so, the beggar became a legend. His story whispered in marketplaces, sung in villages, and told by elders to children under the stars. Not just the story of Ighedosa, but the story of what happens when truth, courage, and love walk hand in hand. Peace had returned to the market. Trade was growing, laughter was louder, and Ighedosa and Efua's marriage had brought hope to every corner. But just when the sun shone the brightest, a shadow walked in. A tall man in fine clothes enters, followed by two guards. His voice is deep, and he speaks with confidence. I have come for what is mine. The traders fall silent. Ighedosa, standing near Efua, steps forward. And who are you? I am the first son of Oseji. Your elder brother. The true heir of this market. Gasps filled the air. The people whispered. Some looked at Ighedosa with doubt. The stranger pulls out a set of old papers, stamped and sealed. Here are the documents. Prove that I am blood of Oseji, prove that this market is mine. The council of elders gather, shocked. One elder takes the papers and studies them carefully. These look real. If this is true, Ighedosa, then the inheritance may not be yours alone. Ighedosa's heart pounded. For years, he fought for his place. For years, he carried shame. And now, in the moment of peace, everything was shaking again. That comes to the end of part 2. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe to this channel and find out what happened next in part 3 of this story.